new episode of Lendan and the podcast. I have Ali here with me.
Hi.
And today we have a special guest. We have Michael on the podcast.
Hi, hello. Thank
Michael?
you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. Do you want to introduce yourself really briefly?
Sure, yes. So my name is Michael. That's no longer a secret. I am from the Netherlands, but I was born in East Africa. But I left there.
Okay.
I left there when I was 3 months old, so I do not remember a thing of that. But I grew up in a small sort of upper middle class area called Het Gooi in the Netherlands, and then later went to live in Amsterdam, where I went to university. And when you're from my generation, when you're really good at school, I was in the top 2% of the country. And so you either go study law or study medicine. I didn't really think any was good, but anyway, my parents were like, well, we never could go to university. Oh, anyway, ended up studying medicine, and I finished my bachelor degrees in medical science, and then I had to do more, and I got my professional doctorate in medicine, which allowed me to educate in about 30 different subjects at university level. And in that year, I also met my now wife, Ray, who is from Queensland in Australia. So very soon I moved to Australia, where I got to work with contracts at universities and things like that. And I also started my own health consultancy, so I help people with lifestyle and stuff like that. So for me, that was a really good contact, because I spoke with people who really made a lot of money, but also how the Australian system works, how the politics works, how the world of money works in Australia. So I really, really liked that. And then my wife and I were approached by a non-government organization in the United States of America, because I'm from the Netherlands and we're very good with euthanasia and abortion, all this kind of stuff, and very forward. I discovered the rest of the world wasn't that far, and I was like, I grew up like this. But so this non-government organization wanted me to help them lobby with the World Health Organization for end-of-life care. So rather than just keep people in hospital and do all sorts of tests on them and have tubes hanging out of them and give them chemotherapy and all this kind of business, I give people an informed choice. And so we lobbied with that. And actually, I think about 5-6 years ago, this was in the 90s, but it takes a long time in politics. 5-6 years ago in Australia, the laws have changed. And now a doctor needs to advise you, if you do chemo, maybe in 2 years' time, you have 40% chance that you live, but if you do natural therapies, it's 38%. If you do nothing, it's probably the same. So you can go like, well, stuff being in a hospital for 2 years. I'd rather be at home and with my loved ones and this kind of stuff. So I did that. And then when I came back, I had to sort of look, well, what do I do? I got this medical degree and all that sort of stuff. So I ended up becoming an educator in hospitals. So I was training medical students, nursing students, but also medical and nursing people who just graduated from hospitals, because it's a different world at university as it is in the real life world of hospitals. Yeah. So, I just tried to be a support person for these people and help them along and teach them some practical things rather than meaningless knowledge. And so, like, say you're a nurse and you're 21 and you've gone to university and you have a happy life and all that sort of stuff. It's a good thing when you start nursing in Australia, because there's a lack of it, because it's so toxic and so tough that the wages are really high to attract people in. And I've just recently have abandoned the HECS fees on it. So that's the university fees. If you don't have money for university, you can borrow it from the government, but you have to pay it back later in life. It wasn't like that when I went to university. It was all for free, just to attract people in. So I try to help these people, and it's like, well, all your friends, it's like Christmas Day on the beach, but you have to work because you're a nurse. Like people in hospitals,
the industry,
24 hours, 7 days a week, never stops. Yeah, and you have night shifts. So a lot of the time, people cannot remember whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, morning, night, you just
24/7.
Anyway.
Let's go back a little bit to when you moved to Australia for the first time with Ray. So which year was it in?
So that was in 1988.
Okay.
So people in Brisbane remember 1988 as the year of Expo. So I'm sure you've seen the South Bank.
Yeah.
So before 1988, there was no South Bank.
Oh, seriously?
No. So this was an idea of Brisbane to up their status as a bit more of a metropolitan kind of city.
Yeah.
When I flew from Amsterdam in the Qantas, the big Boeing 747. So I was speaking to someone next to me, he was from Brisbane, and the purser, who was a gay guy from Sydney. And he was all enthusiastic. You're moving to Australia? Yeah. Okay, where are you going? Brisbane. Oh. I said, why is this?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So in Brisbane, if you were homosexual at the time, you would be disadvantaged. You wouldn't be able to get to work if they found out you were homosexual. The nightclubs were hush-hush because you didn't want to be seen going into a homosexual nightclub because, it wasn't on.
Yeah.
So it was a really good time to be homosexual. And also Brisbane was really backwards. Like when I came off the plane, there was just one of those step... little ladders on wheels, and they wheeled it onto the airplane. So I had to just mount back, and there was a little desk on the tarmac with two really British colonial looking people. So they had these woolen socks with tassels on the side and shorts and the knees bare. G'day, mate, welcome to Australia. So, hi. Just two people. Passport, please. Yeah. Why are you moving to Australia? So I explained. No, I said, well, my girlfriend and I'm engaged and we're going to get married. This is Queensland.
You were already engaged?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was engaged with my wife within 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just,
Yeah. Okay,
But how long have you been married for now?
Hey?
How long have you been married for?
Well, since 1980. We got married in, we were engaged for a long time.
Okay.
So we got married in 2000.
Okay,
And we did it
still
ourselves
2
in
weeks
Venice.
In, but you still, it's still going on.
That's
so
it, yeah.
It's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, so it's 35 years, I think, now. Yeah.
So before you met Ray, who's your wife, were you interested in coming to Australia? Or?
No, because Australia wasn't much in the world news. So the only thing we knew about Australia was Skippy the Bush Kangaroo, because it was a kids series. And there were stupid shows. We got Flying Doctors and Sons and Daughters, and I could not watch more than 3 minutes because I thought it was so boring, but they were really soapy. And that's all we really knew about Australia.
Okay.
Yeah. So not much. I know Australia doesn't have much of a history, really. Mm-hmm. Well, you're European yourself. Every corner there's been a battle, there's been bloodshed, something happened, at least once in history. When you come to Australia, it's like... there's and so it's a particular Brisbane because it's a warm climate. Like I'm more of a cooler climate of the Netherlands, so everyone has big bookshelves in their house, reads lots of books, is very knowledgeable about things in politics. And here it's like, what are you talking about? And are you serious? No, we don't do that for Queenslanders. Culturally, it was so backward that I was drinking wine, which I thought was normal, but my wife's parents, particularly the mother, thought I must have been gay guy. They called it poofters here because I wasn't drink wine and not beer, and it was like only gay people drink wine. So I said, well, you should go to France. There are only gay people in France.
Everybody's gay.
Because they drink wine. So it was like that. And I was also pescatarian, so I was mostly vegetarian, but had some seafood at the time because my wife loved it so much. Otherwise, I wouldn't eat it. And I thought that was weird. Yeah.
Really big into the meat.
So my mother-in-law would just ring up and, did he have a beer? Did he have a steak? No. You sure you want to marry this? You sure you want to marry this guy? Yes, I do.
It's not about your personality, it's about what you eat
and
drinks.
But it was like this. They had no fashion sense either here.
Yeah.
People would just put any collared T-shirt on with daggy-looking pants and, different color shoes. It was really bizarre. I was like, how is this possible? In the south was a bit different. So I visited Melbourne. It was a bit more like I was used from Northern Europe. People
Yeah,
were
it's
more
local.
cultural. Because in Amsterdam, there's always something happening. There's, a comedian or there's live music. And in Brisbane, that wasn't really happening. Lots has changed. But at the time in
Definitely,
'98, it was. And the Queenslanders were quite derogatory of overseas people. Yeah. So, like people from Greece or Italy were called wogs. Yeah. And actually, Italians brought proper food into Australia because before that you couldn't really call it food. Similar like the French people brought a good cuisine to Australia because Australians didn't have much idea about food, I must
They
say.
have their qualities, but food is not one of them.
Food is not one of their qualities, kind of stuff. But I like warm weather. I like the climate. I like the beach. I like nature. So all of these things are very, very attractive to me. So that's 1988 when I first came to Australia. Language-wise, it was really tough. So in Holland, when you go to high school, there's different high schools. But if you want to go to university, there's a special high school for that. It's 6 years. Other high schools are less years. And I had to learn Latin, Greek, French, German, English, and of course, Dutch.
Is that all mandatory?
Mandatory. So the idea was, okay, if you go study law or medicine, which is a likely chance, if you know Latin and Greece, you will understand anatomy and all those things so much easier. Plus, particularly if you learn Latin, you understand French and Spanish and all those Latin languages much easier. Because it's different. Like you probably know, like Latin language is the sequence of words.
I had to learn as well. My parents forced me.
In English,
English,
you say Black Mountain, but you say Mont Blanc. You say Mountain White. But
the adjective and then
okay,
ouais. Blue car.
Oui, make change. Yeah, oui.
You say I'm from the France Southwest, but in English you say I'm from Southwest France.
It's
the other way. It's the other way around. In Latin language, it is like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
I love seeing the differences of that because usually that's when you create funny, like
Yeah,
misunderstandings or anything. It's happened with us anyway. Before.
But there's English and English as well, and the Australians have a certain English that it's hard to get used to. It took me 2 years, although I could speak, I thought, reasonably well English, could read it well. University, all publications are in English. If you publish, you have to write in English. So you have a quite good tackle of it. All popular music is in English. Mm-hmm. In Holland, they subtitle all movies and TV programs from America and England. So you pick up the language real easy. Well, if you live in Holland, you drive for 2 hours, you're out of the country. That's it.
True.
No one else speaks Dutch, so you have to learn something.
That's true.
Yeah, so when you're 5, you can count 1 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in English and in French and in Italian and that kind of stuff. Culture is a really difficult.
It's very different. Yeah. I think it's always like that anyway. No matter where you come from, there's definitely going to be some, not necessarily a cultural shock, but like some big cultural differences. Where you really have to get your head around.
It's only like the latest generations where you see a bit more integration. I lived in the United States as well, in particular in the East Coast, which is older. All the Puerto Ricans live with Puerto Ricans, and the Irish live with Irish, and the Italians live.
Community and community.
And in the old days, if you were Puerto Rican and would go out with an Irishman, that would be like, no, you're excommunicated from the family. You're a big traitor, collaborator, and it's not good. So I saw this in Brisbane as well. You saw these immigrants started huddling together. I was like, well, why would I hang out with Dutch people, go all the way around the globe and they do the same Dutch thing as we're doing in the Netherlands? It beats the point.
I think same,
Well,
all the
what's
time
the
you're
point?
looking more at your community, or even without really realize, you just do it.
Drawn to
you naturally hang out
naturally
with
you
expatriate, and that's a good thing because it helps you sort of find a way in settling and how to go about things and all that kind of stuff. So it's not wrong, but it's like eventually you want to live the culture of the country to experience that. At least in my opinion, it's like, why else could you go traveling? Yeah.
So did you look few things about Australia before coming in Australia, or just you follow the flow with your wife and?
Did you do any like kind of research or?
No. See, in 1988 there was no internet.
Yeah, but did you have like?
There's no like a Google. See some pictures. You could only go to the library and look books, and
you don't really know.
You don't really learn from that. They just say like, oh, Brisbane is a city. It's the southeast of Queensland. It has so many people living in there. You go, okay.
I guess I'm going.
That's very useful information. Australians are very proud of their country. You know this?
Yeah. They love to say they're Australian. That's a feeling I have to.
If you're in Europe and you say, I'm going to Australia, you go, oh, this is what you do. You go there, you hire a van, or there, and you go there. Okay, thanks. I think they have never been exposed to many other cultures. And like the north and the south and east and west are a bit different, but it's not huge. It's not like a different language or different currency, different food or anything like that. So I guess that may be one of the reasons. And Australians, what I just thought of is like when you live in Amsterdam, I'm sure it's the same when you're in Strasbourg, Nantes. If you had lots to drink and people ask, did you drink too much? You say, yeah, peut-être I had a few too many. And here in Australia, they go, yes, I was legless, I was really drunk, but I got back up, started drinking again. And you go, okay. Yeah. And I've really seen people that cannot stand their legs and said, okay, we have to take you home now. Why?
It's true.
Because if you have one more drink, you go into intensive care for the next 3 weeks. Anyway, yeah.
Do you think it was positive in a way, the fact that you didn't have any social media or any kind of, Google or whatever, like the internet at that time for your experience?
Yeah, I definitely think so. With my background in medicine and stuff, and also learning and development, I'm very interested in neuroscience and psychology. Okay. And so over the last 30 years, what's come out that every human brain is full of shortcuts, and they call it bias and heuristics. And this is the reason we just don't have enough time to think about most things a lot. So I can't just go, oh, you're from Strasbourg, and then Google it and then find out things. So is that really true or anything like that? Yeah. So somewhere in my subconscious I have an idea about French people, about maybe people from Strasbourg. I might not be conscious of it, but it's still going in my brain. So my brain immediately identifies then like Ale as she's like this and she's like that, and she speaks an accent, blah blah blah, without knowing it. So when you have social media, your brain gets primed with impressions and stereotypical ideas about people, and it's very hard to get rid of it because your brain goes,
That's true.
Because your brain goes like, I know this now, I'm not going to change it, because it's too much effort. So then wherever you go, like without you even being aware of it, you make all these judgments about people, whether you like it or not, and it sort of really blurs your true experience, And
for traveling as well, because when I traveled last year to Italy, I was like looking at places, and obviously what you see on social media is always amplified and looks 10 times better than when you see, but you don't necessarily always think of it. So then I went to places thinking it's going to be amazing, and then you just show up and you're like, that's it?
No. It's not all these romantic things where it's bellissimo and, and all the men are beautiful and romantic and look after you.
The men are beautiful.
See, this is the bias of Joe. See, he's been biased. All the men are, Antonio, Roberto, Giuseppe, I've arrived. We can warm me now. So, and if you speak to Italian people as well, they say the culture is just not progressive. They have done the same thing, and they all rely on tourism, but there's nothing new and progressive happening. And if it was such a good country, why did you come and live in Brisbane? One wonders. So yeah.
Do you think it would have helped though in some aspects if you had any types of help, whether like internet or social media or like networking?
I think look, I always on two legs with things. I think with the internet and social media, communications are so fast, but therefore also so much more is happening.
Yeah.
Like in 1988, when Ray went back over to Australia 3 weeks before me, so it was writing a letter and it was hoping that it would arrive before I would arrive in the airplane, because it was like that. And phone calls, like most people in Australia didn't even have international phone lines, and they would go to a phone booth with coins, and then suddenly the conversation would stop because the coins run out. So it was these things. But in a way, things went slower, so you had more time to take things in, whereas now it's like...
everything's instant anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I try to not follow too many people. If I follow too many people, I just start eliminating people because I can't keep up. But, you get stories. You just go click, 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 because it's too much.
Yeah, it's overwhelming then.
Yeah, it's really overwhelming. And you just don't take anything in because it's just too much to take in all at once. So it has its pros and its cons. But at the same time, you can now really just text for free and call... with my phone thing now, it's only $35 a month, but I can call for free forever to the Netherlands if I want to, and you can do it with WhatsApp and all that kind of stuff as well.
Did you easily meet people, like make new friends?
That was tough. Yeah.
How so?
Because it was obvious you were not Australian, and then you were not Queenslander. Yeah. And obviously you didn't grow up playing rugby league or something like that. And it was purely...
And drink beer.
And drink beer. So it was purely because of my wife, that was the family I sort of was... I couldn't say accepted, but condoned. So they had to put up with me. But as I started living in Brisbane longer, and Ray was the first personal trainer, so we got clients out of a different echelon and had better education, had traveled the world, and it was much more easier relating to these people. Only like my yearly income was probably their daily income. That part didn't really match well.
If we circle back to technologies now, because I know you're on Instagram, for example, you're on social media. Do you use that a lot in a way to connect with people back home or here? Like, has it really improved in a way your life?
Well, like I said, when I was working at hospitals, I was dealing with people who were like 21, 23, 24. So
you mean people you worked with or looking after?
Looking after, And so I just wanted to know how that generation thinks and operates and stuff like that. And so I noticed, okay, if I send an email, they may read it. And if they do, it's usually only once every 2 weeks or 4 weeks, which is basically too late. If you would text them, a better chance. Mm-hmm. But if you would go on direct messages on social media, you would usually get a response straight away or within a minute or 5 minutes or half an hour. But definitely by the end of the day, you would get an answer. Because people are so used to it. So I try to transform the hospital organization as well. I said, if you want to communicate with your people and you want to get people on the same page, you have to social media, and do it well. Social media created a new language because it's like, but that's another stuff. So that was really helpful. I also like to write reviews. It keeps my artistic writing skills up. So I started putting things on Google Maps.
Okay, like reviews about businesses, you mean? Like
restaurants and stuff? For some reason, I've got 24 million views. I don't know how I did it.
You're the writer then. I'm
not kidding. Here we go. 24 million views.
Oh, wow.
It's Joe every 5 minutes.
It's me just refreshing.
She doesn't sleep. She just...
That's impressive.
So it's the same review.
Both positive and negative? When you leave a review, sorry.
So
anything about
I know. I like to be positive.
Yeah.
But I write a little story. So I'm a big fan of storytelling and education, right? But in business as well. So if a business wants to change their ways, that you have to tell a story and say, look, we've done things in a particular way for the last 30 years, but the business landscape has changed. We have new technology. AI has arrived. There's even a disease in America called FOBO, fear of becoming obsolete. Is AI taking my job because I'm just doing stupid data entry and a machine can do it for me? So there's all this stuff happening, and so we've decided this is our vision. And so I say, look, a vision is just very hypothetical, principled. You can tell people, and thanks very much. And if you print it out, it goes to a drawer, and no one looks at it again. So I said, you need to do similar, like governances, federal government, state government. You have an act which is very principled, say like no speeding in the suburbs. But then what's speeding? You say, 80 kilometers. I'm from France.
I'm making foreign numbers,
I grew up in Paris. If you don't go 80, you get shot. Okay. So then, you have a regulation. Say, let's put a number to this. Go through Parliament, have a democratic vote. Okay, 60 kilometers per hour. All right, let's do that. But then it doesn't stop there. You need a code of how to be compliant. So you need traffic signs saying this is the speed limit. You need speedo checks to see if people actually stick to it. Give fines to deter people from speeding, all that kind of stuff. So I say any organisation need to do the same thing. But I said if you tell a story, you don't have to go into all the details, but it must be plausible. People might not agree, but if it's plausible, they follow. So like the iCloud came out, and Steve Jobs, he was still alive, he did, I think, a brilliant presentation. He said, like, previously we've done it like that, but now we've done the iCloud. Okay, why are we doing this? Is because previously you have an iPhone, you have your Mac computer, and you would delete an email on your iPhone, and you go to your MacBook computer and it's not deleted, so you have to do it twice. So now with the iCloud, there's this complete synchronization that whatever you do on your phone and your computer, it all integrates one go, and that's it. Your apps can integrate, and you can see the integrations through the iCloud has gone better. You can even use your phone now as your camera for your computer if you want.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep. So if you have a MacBook, you can just tell it, my phone is my camera, and it will record on your MacBook. Yeah, it's really well integrated.
Wow.
But even just like AirDrop,
just that.
I've got a great photo. Can you give it to me? You just touch phones.
Put it next to each other.
I think
you have a Samsung, Ali.
I think the iPhones are more expensive than the laptops these days because they're so well organized. It's the main thing. So I think technology is really good, and like with all things, it has positive and negatives. So I think the positive is that language is deteriorating.
That actually has been shown in studies, is the quality of students at school. Well, I know in France, like I haven't read about it in English, but people's quality of like writing and talking is so poor.
In the Dutch language, we have 20 words for pooing, like this 20 words. But but you're from France, and like if Alain speaks Strasbourg dialect, you would not be able to follow it.
50% of the time.
In the Netherlands, there's some streets where people, if they speak dialect, they cannot understand it because they live on the opposite side, and the dialect is so strong. And each town has their own cheese, has their own beer, has their own pastry, and there's some form of identity, which makes it great to travel. There's a lot of travel because there's something new, and it sort of transports you out of the grind that you're used to in your own home. So, I think technology is definitely sort of degrades it and becomes very superficial. What can you do?
When you travel now, do you travel with Ray? Like, do you go on?
Yeah.
Do you use social media, or do you try to do like when you first came here, as in, we'll just go and information?
I do use social media. So if I go, I'm traveling and there's a nice waterfall, I'll do a picture and do put it on as a post, and it's just because. The friends I have, they all look for something to do as well, and they go like, "Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I think that could be our next holiday destination, or this could be the next restaurant we like to visit," and stuff like that. Half a year ago, in April. So how long ago is it? 7 months ago or something. 6 months. No, 6 months, half a year. I went to a restaurant called Establishment 203, and it was actually
I want to try that restaurant. That's the one next to where you live, Ellie. The one at the corner? Yeah, next to it.
I would try to sell your kidney first so you can afford the bill.
Yeah, I looked at the prices and then I was like, maybe another time.
There's 3 restaurants there. There was Marino and Etna.
Yeah.
And then there's Establishment 203.
Yeah.
And the cheapest bottle of wine is like $120, $130. Okay. Well, we can serve you a glass. $34 for one glass of wine. 150 mils.
Is it from the same owner as Rosemarino and Etna?
No, the Establishment 203 is owned by meat producers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they really promote meat. So you can get an 800-gram tomahawk for $500 or something.
Ali's vegetarian, so vegetarian.
Good for you. Me too. So you can just go for the gnocchi or the
you will be going to.
They have a beautiful, simple pasta. They have zucchini flowers and that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But anyways, 2 Dutch girls were working there at the time, and I'm still on social media with them. So one is still traveling, and she was like in Port Douglas, which is north of Cairns. Yeah. It's only a small town, and we'd been there a lot, not this August, but the year before, 2023. So I could say like, I'll go to this restaurant in Melaleuca. Melaleuca is the Latin name for paperbugs. Have you seen paperbuck trees?
No, I don't think I have.
Paperbuck trees are beautiful. Okay, have you heard of tea tree oil?
Yeah.
Yeah, so tea tree oil comes from paperbucks, and that is white-collared tree, but the bark is like paper, and it easily comes off as well.
Oh.
Yeah, and often it grows around like little lakes or rivers, and the tea tree actually will infuse into the water.
Okay.
So it's almost like a free spa. You can soak in the tea tree water. All your joints heal. Yeah, so there's a few very common trees in Australia. One is the eucalyptus, which are the big ghost gums.
Yeah.
And they, of course, have the eucalyptus oil, but also they have the citronella, which is the insect repellent, the mosquito repellent flavor. And then you have the acacias or the wattles.
Yeah.
They're in the coat of arms. If you're allergic, you can't stand them because they have so many flowers on them.
Okay.
Oh, even I sneeze and I'm not allergic. And then you have the melaleucas, the paperbucks.
It does ring a bell though.
Beautiful.
You would have seen them because you've travelled with them.
If you see them and you go like, oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, in the cities there's not too much, but as soon as you go outside the city, there's heat. Yeah. Or you can Google it, no?
Yeah.
Oh. I'm sure there's an Instagram account of Melaleuca. But anyway, yeah, you could sort of hint and tip and stay in touch, which I like. Yeah. And the other one is back in Amsterdam, Florian, so I could see.
Were they on their working holiday visa? Those 2 Dutch people.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just 1 year, but you can work whatever you do. Usually countries have a reciprocation, so anyone under the age of 29 can go to Holland and work for a year.
Okay.
Yeah. And it costs €80, I think, and then you can live and work in Holland. So then they have
the same here.
A reciprocation that if you're Dutch, you can come to Australia, do the same thing.
How did you come when you first came?
I had a working visa.
Okay.
Yeah, so I could work here, and then
you got married anyway.
After 7 months, I said, looking at staying here, so I went to the immigration. They said, well, you can get a residency if you don't want to become a citizen.
Okay. And
residency, you have to live in Australia 3 years out of 5, and you have to renew it every 5 years.
Okay.
So you can go out and live somewhere else and travel for 12 months, the world, if you want. Come back, yeah. And so people said, they're going to interview you and ask really difficult questions. And so the person who interviewed me was a female, and she'd just been to Holland and knew the social system there. She said, there's no way did you come to Australia to, use our social securities because Holland is 20 times better. So she said, sign here. So, bing. So that was 1 minute. And similar later on, I must have been 2008. I became a citizen because it was just easier that way. Mm-hmm. And there was only 10 questions you had to answer. And they sent you an email. These are the 10 questions. These are the 10 answers. But you have
remember them.
But the regulation is such you have to come to the department and be interviewed where we'll ask you these same questions. So you're sitting in the waiting room. They said, here's the 10 questions and the 10 answers again. So you could go through that. And then you sat down, it's just like this desk, and the interviewer is that side, and you sit here. She said, look, I'm going to ask you these 10 questions. If you can't remember, look to your left, at the corner of your eyes, and all the answers...
That's like giving the...
And all the answers are on the left. So it was like, you must be just really stupid to not...
Just not
and it was
repeat what you
basically, my Australian citizenship entitles me to pay taxes. Yes, I'm so happy. And if I travel abroad... I can do this with my Australian passport. It were these 10 questions. That was really, really stupid. And then I think a few years after that, they changed the rules, and I had really difficult questions.
Yeah, now it's like what extent, like you...
Who's the best cricketer and what's the most successful racing horse? And Australians don't even get the question right.
So who interview you? Is it just people who work for the government?
Yeah.
Like random people, like just employees?
Just 9 to 5 public servants. Yeah.
Okay. And the questions are like... mostly about what you get as becoming an Australian citizen?
This is how it was like,
See?
Yeah, it's no longer the case. It depends what country you're from now.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's lots of people from Colombia. There's lots of people from Colombia. So France, I think you're still safe. But Colombia is a high-risk country. So they make it really hard. You have to go through English testing and all sorts of stuff. And it's become a big money-generating sort of exercise. Yeah. I think if you're you're from France, depends. Strasbourg, I'm not sure.
Depends where.
They love the people from Nantes, apparently. Then I met this person I know who thinks God created Lyon first, and then the rest of France. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that will be in her favor or not. This is how it works. So it's room to look into it if you wanted to stay here. So with a residency, you don't, or any visa, you don't have to have a relationship with an Australian. Some visas you may need a sponsor.
Yeah. Oh, you mean once you are a permanent resident, you don't need the relationship?
Even before that, you can apply for permanent residency on all kinds of bases, but you usually have to prove that you can sustain yourself. Okay. So if you apply by yourself, and then they say like, okay, you need to bring in more than 400,000 Australian dollars, because it's no longer based on a relationship and it's hardship if you can't live together. Yeah. So then they want you to bring money in, and you have to have a business for 2 years where you employ so many people. So this is good for the Australian economy.
And they have to be Australian employees just to prove that you're contributing to the economy.
When the COVID was around, there were no more backpackers, so all the shitty jobs waiting on tables and picking strawberries didn't happen anymore. And then suddenly all these people got extended visas.
Yeah, they changed heaps of stuff for the...
And you were on a COVID visa, and now the COVID is over and the backpackers are coming back. Oh, no, sorry, fish is finished, go back.
There are even some who got... What is it? The people who had to leave could come back on a different visa. Using the same one.
Yeah, the working visa. We call that COVID visa, but it was different name.
So student visa, if you're studying, you can go to university and study. Foreign student fees are higher than if you're domestic. And I don't think there's HEX visa. There's a lot of money. But a lot of the Chinese rich people try to get to live in Australia because you can stay in Australia for another 2 years after you finish your degree.
It depends. They're changing heaps too. Yeah. Like it always changes throughout the year. Like
my wife and I don't have children, so we're considering adopting people. and then after 2 years, you say, big mistake. You're on your own.
Lots of responsibilities still. Is there anything you think you would, if you look back at 1988, the year you came, is there anything you would have done differently? Not that necessarily you regret, but like something you know would have approached it in another way.
Yes, I would have done. I would have looked at work situation better, because I just took my keyboard and my suitcase and just left Amsterdam. Because that's how I used to live in Europe. Just don't feel like studying, go on a train trip, come back a month later. That was. I'm just a wanderer, I suppose. But I love my sense of freedom. I think that's my Dutchness. Yeah, we love that. We love our freedom. And so I wasn't prepared. So what I noticed, it was actually very hard breaking into the Australian job market, particularly if you're qualified. If you want to do unqualified work, it's easy. But other work is really hard. So like my medical degree, they wouldn't acknowledge it. But I could teach medical students. I could teach nurses at university. So that was okay. But practicing wasn't.
Makes you think, what?
Yeah, so... And look, I rang the medical association and I spoke to someone on the board. He said, look, Michael, I'm just going to tell you straight. The system is designed that we are understaffed. So say you're an anaesthetist, make sure there's a shortage of it. So anaesthetists can charge high fees. So say the Medicare, say will pay $3,000 to use an anaesthetist if you do an anaesthetic for someone who has a arthroscopy. And then an anaesthetist would charge the patient an extra $3,000 on top of that.
Okay.
Just to fill his own pockets. But he could because, hey, there's a shortage of anaesthetists. Yeah. People want to have their surgery done. Yeah, pain is the biggest thing that no one knows how to cure properly still. So most people want to go to hospital, get the right stuff. They go under. When they wake up, it's all done. They don't remember a thing, so they won't have nightmares for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, that's a
being in
an
imaging
operator as well.
And so they said, look, the way it's organised here is that we doctors, can become very rich very fast, and no one's going to change it. So they're very afraid of foreign doctors coming in, particularly from countries that are really well trained. So I was trained in Amsterdam, and our hospital was an academic hospital, and we were number 3 in the world when it came to education and training doctors. So I was like, and I think it's a big problem, and most people seem to know it in public service in Australia, that the best people do not get the jobs. Because the people in the jobs are very afraid of people who know how to do things effectively. It exposes them of being inefficient, so they don't like it. So like a friend of mine applied for a job at the Royal Brisbane Hospital, which is Queensland Health, which is a public service. And her resume looks really good, qualifications really good. She had a master's in nursing and all that. And they gave the job to someone who would only be nursing for a year and had a certificate of childcare, which is just not related to working in perioperative, which is surgical theatres. And we're all just like, yep.
It doesn't make sense.
This is the public service. If you're good, you won't get a job. Yeah. So you can't generalize. I'm sure good people get in as well, but it is like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would have done my research better, and I probably would have worked my way in from Amsterdam into the medical system and make sure that, I find the right people to help me out. But here I am. I'm still alive, still happy.
Exactly. And you can't change anyway. Would you have any tips or advice, though, for people who may want to move to Australia or, may want to work
look, the cost of living in Australia is very high, and it's not something of late. It's been every time over the last 35 years, I've met people from overseas who said, geez, it's so expensive to live there. And, it is. But it shouldn't be deterrent because it's a great country. You can still live cheaply if you want to, if you travel. But I would go back to your last question. I would prepare really well to look at the cost of things and really have a budget. And so I do the same thing. I go I'm going to travel now, going to Western Australia. I want to make sure that at least I can spend $200 a day. I don't have to. But when I'm on holidays, I don't want to look at the menu and go like, I really like that pizza, but I can't afford it. I better go for the shitty chips in a greasy burger because it's better for the budget. I think if you go on holidays, you must be able to enjoy yourself. So I think financial well-being is one of the most important factors of well-being. You can eat all the healthy food there is in this. Inhale healthy air, but if you're financially struggling, it's just a huge psychological burden, and your mental health suffers. I wrote a well-being standard for nurses, and that was one of our main pieces of the pie. And you need a financial well-being. So would be my number one tip.
Yeah.
And it depends who you are. I like to travel with at least one companion. That doesn't mean you have to leave your country and come here and have a companion, but I would definitely look out for one. And usually, when you arrive, you usually find other people who are backpacking or from overseas who can give you tons of tips, help you into a job if you want that often. Yeah. There's no more cash. There used to be cash 30 years ago.
Don't get Ali started on
Don't
this.
start with that.
Now they pay you superannuation, but you can't touch it. It's like your pension, and the government takes it off you when you leave, when you go back to your country of origin. Yeah.
Ali loves to pay in cash, and she can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's not really I like pay cash. It's just I don't like.
Well, you prefer,
I prefer to pay cash. And I don't like to have to pay every time 1.5% or stuff like that when.
So they kept cash going a lot because there was lots of older people that didn't trust anything digital and thought it was too difficult, and they knew if they had so much notes and coins in their wallet, I've got, spending this much and have that much left, which where it's digital is harder for them. But then the COVID came and there was everyone got paranoid about, you just touched it. Yeah. And so, a lot of it went. Sorry.
I prefer cash. I'm living cash. Cash. But I think you spend less money as well when you pay cash because you realize when you pay, you see your money leaving. So and sometimes I don't have enough cash on my wallet and I just want to buy something. I should say, okay, next time. So maybe I don't pay. It's...
Yeah. I can see this psychology. When you grow up in the Netherlands, you go to the market and you say you pay with a note of 50 and they give you change back from a note of 20. You go like, no, I paid with a note of 50. And they go, sorry, made my mistake. And then you would get your right change back. And so there was a lot of that. So you really had to be monitoring. I know
this is what I was teaching.
With digital paying, it's the same. I flick my watch and I haven't been caught out, but you actually should look like, is that the right money that I'm being charged?
True. No, that's true.
But you have this social thing, kind of like, it's
I never check when I pay. I'm just like, thank you. And then I check, I see on my phone.
Yeah.
I get the automatic notification. And I'm like, okay, good amount. But I know
what you're saying. So,
And people have gotten less good at counting as well, like at maths. So we've had many situations where we go somewhere and Ali pays cash and she's really good at math. So she's like, I'll give you this much and, this is how much money you need to give me. And people are left so confused as in, 20 minus 12.30.
And people is confusing when, for example, I have to pay, 15 and 60 cents and I give 20 and 60 cents so that they just don't have to trouble with and this they're always lost. If I give the 60 cents to have it's a lost.
But in France, you count more mathematically. You go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. 60, 10, 420, 420, 10, 100.
No long time ago.
So,
I was trying to teach my
But in the old days, when you traveled in Europe, you had the same thing. You had to go like Deutschmarks or Belgian francs or French francs or pesos or whatever.
Yeah, but I think it's also like a generation.
In Italy, you were an instant multimillionaire. You changed $10 and you got like 100 million liras.
That's true.
But I understand. But what can I do?
Yeah, true.
What can I do?
Yeah, no, it's easier.
It is easier, but it's not necessarily always better,
But it's just that if you look on 1 month when you spend, if you look how many percentage you give just because you want to pay by your card or your watch, you lost so much.
No, but these days, with a lot of banks, you can have several accounts, right? So say your weekly or fortnightly pay comes in. You can say, this is for my rent or my mortgage. I need to put in another account, I put money so I can pay my electricity and whatever. And then you go, this is for my groceries and stuff. And then you can have a splurge account. So that's your fun money. So you want to buy a new T-shirt or a new pair of shoes or you want to go out for dinner. So it's in a separate account. So if it's fini,
yeah, no more. I should be doing this.
C'est tout pour cette semaine. No more, sorry. We're going out, sorry, no, my splurge account, it's finished.
I spent on a T-shirt. All right,
but something like that, you're clever.
Doesn't matter what it is, but thank you, Michael, for this. It was very, very interesting.
Cool, well, thank you for having me. I know I talk too much, but this is because I'm...
No, you don't, it's fine.
I'm an educator.
So interesting. So interesting. I love that we covered so many
I
different
think it's the
things.
first time I don't talk too much.
Usually Alice always intervening.
I managed to.
I would just like to listen to
You can come to our parties
I
now.
managed to slow down Ale.
All right, well, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you all at the next episode.
Bye.
Okay. Salut. Bye. Tot ziens.
Salut.